But at some point I lost the track of what's the real goal. And the real goal was being a director and not being a supervisor or a VFX. The AI stuff told me things won't go back to how they were before anyway. And now actually I am seeing this not anymore as a burden that this happened, but I see it as a gift, because if this wouldn't have happened, I would be still in this situation where it feels not completely wrong, but also not right.
And your body was telling you that, which is the most amazing part, that your body was telling you, stop.
Yes, that's also what I gained out of our conversations. Just to have somebody who's like you, who's opening my eyes to just trust into that feeling. It also helped me to understand what I want and who I am, and also accepting a bit who I am. If I would see that somebody says, okay, you feel that something's wrong in your life, first of all, you can't point your finger on that, but we can figure it out what it is, and we can let you find again your way, something like that. This is really beautiful. Like, I really feel that this is really something which is really going into the exact right direction.
Why did you thought about having those conversations initially, the coaching? What was the trigger for you to say, hey, that could be useful for me?
I think I'm a confident person. Sometimes maybe there is something blocking you, even though you are thinking that you're confident and you're great at doing whatever you want. But I thought that if I would reach out to you and do these coaching sessions, somehow I also wouldn't make me stop from what I want to achieve, like self-sabotage.
Got it.
That if you ask me now why I was reaching out back then, I think this was probably a big issue, that I just had the feeling that maybe I was losing track of the goals I set in life. And I wanted to organize in my head why this is happening and how I can get back to those goals, and getting back also building maybe a real confidence, because before, it's always a process, I guess. But it was at a time where I was doubting myself and doubting if I'm on the right path, because at some point I felt resistance, also from the inside. Yeah, that's why I reached out to you, because I know you from Scanline and I know you as a person. And I thought that as somebody who's seemingly has his shit together, you're probably a good chatting partner to help me sorting what's happening in my head as well.
Did you recall a moment when you had a perspective shift or something that you said, that's interesting, I didn't saw that this way?
One moment which was really helpful for me, because it wasn't AI and why I was reaching out, but as a coincidence, it was that AI was in the rising, and back then there's videos of puppies playing in the snow with snow simulation and
those puppies.
Yeah, definitely. It was a jaw-dropping moment for me where I was already questioning myself. And then there is this little demo which shows me, okay, now everybody can prompt something and he gets the result. So is there any future for me in the VFX world or in the movie world at some point? Or will I, or people of my kind, like VFX artists, but also directors, will they in the end all be replaced with AI? And this was something which hit me hard then. And we had the conversation and I told you, and you reminded me, because we had this briefing where you were just trying to sort out my values, what is of worth for me. And I told you back then that I like the adventure and I like the challenge of always getting into new stuff. The more I get thrown into cold water, and I appreciate that way more, instead of like stagnating in the same field all the time. Yeah, and you made the link for me to understand that this is a great time for me because things are changing now. And as I already am used to changes because I seek them, this should be something which be beneficial for me that those times are changing now. And if I'm a fast adapter, which I consider myself, I am, I could definitely take my advantages out of this. And and this, I took that with me, and it really brightened not just the day, but also like the following weeks and months, because you planted actually a thought in my head that this times are always changing. And even though this might seem as a very, very hard interruption and hard change, it's still how things always went on for the past couple of years at least. And it helped me also to dive really deep into the matter of image generative AI and large language models. And while I am now trying to combine AI with my work, I see that it's not a one-click solution, what I was afraid of. And also those video, like image to video AI and text to video AIs are pretty strong, but they are not so strong that it can replace a human in the creative process, in the image generative process. Also, especially in everything we are doing as VFX artists, it's still like on a feature film level, for example, there's no way that AI can do the shots for the VFX house. This is not happening now, and I'm doubting that it will happen in the next at least 2 years, and maybe also not in the next 5 years. It's just because as I dove into that and I tried them all, at least the biggest ones regarding video generative AI, for example, there are just always so precise tasks and so many tasks where I just don't see myself using like an image generative video AI solely to do my VFX work. It's at the moment really just impossible. But I can use it for myself to, maybe I want to have props in the background. There are, for example, AIs where you can rotoscope really quick stuff out, or this context-aware fill stuff where I have an object, but I don't want to have it anymore. And AI is great in these things. Or putting a depth map to a focus pull in post, even though it's just real footage and I make it myself on the depth map and I have a focus pull. All these kinds of things, it's less than a tool which replaces all creative people. It's like a huge toolbox of stuff, of like small tools I can now use, which make my work more easy. But it's still something where, I have to be there as an artist anyway. So that was like this understanding. I would say, you were the person who were pushing the first domino in towards that direction. So you flipped for me this moment of frustration and fear into a hopeful one. You just shifted my perspective. But it's not that you said it like, oh, you have to see it that way, but you were really adapting to how you perceived me, where you see my strengths, and you reminded me actually of my strength. And
it was the first 2 sessions was a lot about making a map of your values, of your priorities, and trying to establish that as first. So then, only then, we can start to discuss what you were concerned about, let's say. And speaking of that perspective shift, what actually have changed since then in your practice, in your business, in your approach to the work?
I would say that what changed, and I realized this pretty recently, actually, that if I would say I realized for myself, there is really something what changed. And it is combined with the fact that when we started our conversation, like more than a year ago, I was always working as a freelancer. And I would say there are 2 types of working as a freelancer. The one thing is like, for example, working for a studio, and you are going in and you get your tasks. And the other thing is that I just present myself as a one solution VFX person. There's also a concept we developed together, or like at least build a stronger fundamentals for that. It was already the case, but now I also, regarding this, I gained more confidence presenting myself and reaching out further with that concept. But what I realized was that always when I was doing work as a VFX one-person powerhouse, I had, not always, but often, a few problems with my time management that I was putting I was very fast and working, but I was always putting the work onto once, like I was compressing the time working on something. So actually it was, okay, there is this task, and I just said, okay, I now will clear that task. And it was also like to a level of which could lead to burnout or something, because then I was working like 12 hours, so 15 hours in a row. And afterwards I was exhausted. And
I recall that.
Yeah. And then I needed my time to like gain back stamina or something.
To recover.
Yeah. And now I see, because there must have happened something, because now I see this problem I don't experience anymore, actually. It's that I just realized that I was like the last couple of months, I was actually full of like not full of work like back then, where I really felt like full of work. But it's not, I have still like enough clients, and I'm just working myself through it, like whenever it's fitting from time wise. And I feel like, oh, maybe I'm doing now something on that shot, and now I'm doing something on this one. And it feels way more chill now working on this, because I'm not compressing the time working on it to a extent where I'm just like in a tunnel, and I'm not interacting with my family, with my wife and my daughter. And this is also what we like what I had issues with, what I told you, that like this balancing out and being like, because I was sometimes really in a state where like there is no emotion or anything in myself, but just working. And then it's like completely exhausting. And we tackled that that problem, and it definitely changed something in my mind, because it's really that I just realized this like the last couple of days, that I was, because there are some other issues now in my life, but nothing serious, but it's still that I thought, wow, but at least it just worked, and I didn't have to force anything anymore. And this was pretty cool, because when I was talking to you back then, I was at a state where I told you that when I was even taking the mouse in my hand, and I wanted to do one click and doing something like regarding the work, like the one-man powerhouse work thing, I cramped and I couldn't do a click. Like there was a blockade. Just to come back also to this maybe self-manipulation thing, and there I had this blockade, but now this blockade is completely gone, and I just do it because it really doesn't feel that exhausting. Not at all, actually. It's just really, it's fun, because I was referring to the thing with the hobby, the AI. And even though, I don't know, I maybe use AI in 10 or 5 to 10% of my work, I use AI to help myself. But it's still that I am like to experiment. Okay, how this would now work out when I'm using it with the help of AI. And then I'm just playing around while I'm doing work. When I'm working, it more feels like, playing a video game. But not in a excessive way, but just like, now I play, then I eat, then I go out.
If I recall properly, it was also seeing that as a holistic view, not only the work and delivering the task and making as fast as possible, like a tunnel vision, maybe playing the long game. Maybe you could recommend to others also that you learn yourself during the process about yourself.
I always come back to this thought. What I learned was, at least that's why a lot of things feel much more easy now, is because I don't try to force anything at the moment. It's because that's the thing with when we had our conversations, and it helped also, not just like when we were doing this roadmap and I and we were doing like a little, like this profile based on like all sorts of information. It also helped for me to understand what I want and who I am, and also accepting a bit who I am, which means that it's not that I run away from a challenge now, because I think that's not who I am, but it's more than when I just feel not right for now, I sometimes get back to the analysis we did about me, but also about like, but it's like this, the scheme, you can also adapt it and then just dive into yourself and ask yourself, hey, is this really something, is the issue really that I am right now, for example, not able to do this? Or is it that I maybe don't want to do it? Or maybe it's also like the same thing with what I want to do and what I don't want to do, but I just get back and take a deep breath and think about myself, if maybe this is something which is actually not that good to run after and do this. I had some clients after we had our conversations, actually quite a lot, where I just said, no, I'm not doing that. It's not that I was, it were cool. It were really cool jobs. Sometimes it was for previous, like for big commercials, like really huge stuff actually. But I just realized during our conversation also the value I want to give myself and the value of what this pays me. And I really started, or I gained the confidence to say, I don't need this now. I don't need something more in my portfolio and just to brag, but I really should stay focused and should do the things I really want to do. And maybe this is also the reason why it now feels like playing a video game while working, because it's, right now the clients are like, we have like just a time window and it says, we talk and I say like, okay, you know what? I give you like a report, like after like a quarter of the time, then at halftime. And then I just show you results and you tell me you want something else, or we'll stay like that. But the time in between, it's nothing under pressure. It's not like, for example, in a VFX house, but also in these previous work, it's that you are in constant conversation with people and you're working and then you have to wait. And while you're waiting, sometimes people would think that for themselves, but that's cool because you don't have to do anything at that point in time. But it really, you're still like locked in this work.
Yeah, you're not in a good state of mind.
Yeah, definitely. So it's not a good, like, it's really not a good situation. Some people maybe watch Netflix while that, but that's nothing healthy, actually. And that's what for example, these kinds of jobs, I was like, for the last couple of months, I had a few of them where people were asking, hey, you have time? And I was thinking of it and I said like, no, sorry. It wasn't actually not just the money. It was like, I would say it was a bit less money what I would get from the jobs where I have more control over everything. But it was also definitely this thing where I knew, okay, at this point when I'm doing this, I am again like the person who is hiring me will own me at some like for a certain amount.
And that circle back to your values and what you want for your future, how you want, which direction you want to grow, what you want to achieve.
Yeah, definitely. Because this is not where I want to grow. Because I told you that I want to be a filmmaker, and we had also the conversation where I really started to doubt if this is like the path I was stepping in the first place was really maybe not the right one. So because back then I had the idea of, I mean, like what I told myself was I want to be a filmmaker, I want to be a director. I start with something which has a measurable value. So this is VFX, because I thought you have to train this, you have to learn this. Not everybody can do that. So I learned it and I did VFX for companies. And then actually in the next steps would have been maybe getting into a higher position, like just in the roadmap, it would have been like maybe at some point a lead, maybe at some point like a VFX supervisor or something. Like this was actually really like goals I had. But I actually, the step out of this then to being a director, it's back then it seemed to me like makes complete sense. But at some point I lost the track of what's the real goal. And the real goal was being a director and not being a supervisor or a VFX artist. It was always actually, this was just, in Germany we would say Mittel zum Zweck. This was just something I learned and I did because I wanted to get out something completely different out of it. And and I was, and this is all again like where I said, like when there's the resistance, I was forcing myself against this, where it was also at some point there was a resistance. And I don't think that, like, first of all, I was resistant. Like I cramped and didn't want it to work anymore, like on the shots. But also the resistance of the kickback of that, like there was this VFX crisis where a lot of people also lost their jobs, like in big houses. And for me, it was like a disaster because I was at this point actually hoping to go to ILM as working as a generalist. And this all puffed because the VFX and the artists started to strike, like the actors.
The writers strike, and the actors.
And then it was a disaster because like everything I laid out so fine, it just was away. And then the AI stuff told me things won't go back to how they were before anyway. Like one thing came after another. And now actually I am seeing this not anymore as a burden that this happened, but I see it as a gift, because if this wouldn't have happened, I would be still in this situation where it feels not completely wrong, but also not right.
And your body was telling you that, which is the most amazing part, which I experienced myself too, that your body was telling you, stop.
Yes. And it's really something, because that's also what I gained out of our conversations. I mean, I also thought that I was before somebody who was listening to his body, but it's also what you were saying in the beginning, like that somebody from the outside is also reassuring you something. And it's also the conversation I had with you helped that I even grew way more consciousness about what is my body telling me now. And also giving in then when the body says no, and maybe listen to it for a second or two. And then on a magical way, sometimes things sort themselves out, like this non-Newtonian fluid. When you push against it slowly, you just get in. But when you punch against it, it's like a rock. Have you heard of it?
No, but that's a really good analogy. I like it.
Or also in Harry Potter, there's like in the first one, when the kids fall into like a pit and there's like a plant and it's choking them, then Hermione says, you have to relax because then it will let loose. And Ron is resisting and it's almost killing him because he's resisting so hard. And
I love this analogy. Yeah.
And it's really like that. And it's also good just to have somebody who's like you, who's opening your eyes or my eyes to just trust into that feeling. Because sometimes it feels like we lose, or like, at least for me, that's why I always referring. Back then I thought like I figured it all out and I was in sync with everything. But then somehow I lost a big bit of the connection, but it helped me to get back to myself.
Yeah, and I guess there is nothing wrong with that, because it's the part you don't know. So you cannot know without having some external clue sometimes, that's really great. Actually, thank you for the time and
no problem.
The feedback on that, because it's been a moment now. Well, obviously we kept the conversation aside from coaching, which is also really cool. Which is unexpected benefit from my perspective.
Yeah.
But that's really cool. Yeah, I think that sums it up. It's really great. Thanks for that.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
What you just described is actually what I enjoy the most, is actually that, is reframing a situation. I was going to the wrong direction. My body was telling me stop. I was becoming blind.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't that effective because I didn't have a coach. But then slowly but surely, I realized how much it was important to trust myself more and listen to myself and all that. So I think that's something that is really valuable to provide to someone. Because obviously you can find out by yourself, but it took me a really long time.
Yeah.
So long story short, I think that's really cool also to hear that from you, because it's reaffirming that, yeah, this is precisely that I think I'm good at, and I can contribute to someone which is senior as you.
Also, why we are talking now, when you said what is the benefit of your service, I think people are able to change 180 degrees. They can change if they want. And what I also realized for myself is it's really the want also, which sometimes is just not there. But as soon as the want is there, and this is also something which sometimes it needs some few conversations like we had, for example, to get to the want. And then also like maybe it's the combination of the wanting and the reframing. And you can go into that. But I think this is something, if I would see that somebody says, okay, you feel that something's wrong in your life, first of all, you can't point your finger on that, but we can figure it out what it is, and we can let you find again your way, something like that.
I get the idea. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But this is something when somebody like your ayahuasca experience, like what your ayahuasca experience gave you, if you could provide that via conversation.
True, actually. Now that you're saying that, is actually really, I didn't realize.
Yeah, maybe something like that. This would be because
the power of the ayahuasca trip, but no need to drug yourself.
Exactly. I strongly also believe that this is like, I definitely, ayahuasca is a good way to get there.
Yeah.
But I think there are a lot of like ways to get there, also like via conversation.
Also, why now things might appear easier for you is like because you're aligned with who you are. So it's like you don't forcing much as before, and that's actually pretty cool.
This is really beautiful. Like I really feel that this is really something which is really going into the exact right direction.
But let me just recap, because you are actually building up the entire show from scratch, screenplay, you're producing it.
It's writing the screenplay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as a team.
Yeah.
And delivering from original ideas to final pixel.
Yeah.
That is even more than a director.
Definitely. Yeah. That's true.
Your language is more visual.
Yes.
In a way. You're more of a cinematographer, actually.
Definitely.
And if I recall, some point we established some kind of a plan. On top of building your own movie, you were actually wanted to have some kind of production house.
Yes, yeah.
So that is aligned also with that.
Yeah, definitely. And this is also where I think it's heading. And I mean, this is a very, very, very good starting situation. We are there, I think. Who was asking like, hey, could you come for like 3 months? And I thought it was cool that they asked, but I said like, no, because I have different things to do now. It's not possible. And it felt good to say no. Yeah, because it's like as if I closed with, for me, I closed with the chapter VFX artist and opened up the new journey being filmmaker.
That's inspiring.